EU leaders have agreed to move Brexit talks onto the second phase but called for further clarity from the UK about the future relationship it wants. The first issue to be discussed, early next year, will be the details of an expected 2-year transition period after the UK's exit in March 2019. Talks on trade and security cooperation are set to follow in March. Theresa May hailed an important step on the road, but Germany's Angela Merkel said it would get even tougher. Donald Tusk, the president of the European Council, broke the news that the 27 EU leaders were happy to move on to Phase 2 after they met in Brussels. He congratulated Mrs. May on reaching this stage and said the EU would begin internal preparations for the next phase right now, as well as exploratory contacts with the UK to get more clarity on their vision. While securing a deal in time for the UK's exit in March 2019 was realistic, he suggested that the next phase would be more challenging and more demanding. EU leaders agree to move on to the second phase of Brexit talks. Congratulations PM at Theresa_May. End of Twitter post by @UK President. Thank you to Presidents at Juncker EU and at Donald Tusk. Today is an important step on the road to delivering a smooth and orderly Brexit and forging our deep and special future partnership. https://tco/sasha17n. End of Twitter post by @Theresa_May. Mrs. May said the two sides would begin discussions on future relations straight away and hoped for rapid progress on a transitional phase to give certainty to business. This is an important step on the road to delivering the smooth and orderly Brexit that people voted for in June 2016, she said. The UK and EU have shown what can be achieved with commitment and perseverance on both sides. Labour's international trade spokesman, Barry Gardner, welcomed the move forward, but said it would be a real problem for business if the EU didn't start talking trade for a further 3 months. He also said his party would not put a time limit on a post-Brexit transition phase, as the expected 2-year period would be extremely tight. The EU has published its guidelines for Phase 2 of the negotiations, with discussions on future economic cooperation not likely to begin until March. The 3-page document says the UK will remain under the jurisdiction of the European Court of Justice and be required to permit freedom of movement during any transition period. And agreements on the Irish border, the so-called Divorce Bill and the rights of EU and UK citizens, agreed by Mrs. May last Friday, must be respected in full and translated faithfully into legal terms as quickly as possible. The document says, as the UK will continue to participate in the customs union and the single market during the transition, it will have to continue to comply with EU trade policy. While the EU is willing to engage in preliminary and preparatory discussions on trade as part of building a close partnership after the UK's departure, this means any formal agreement can only be finalised and concluded once the UK has become a third country. By the BBC's political editor Laura Kunsberg.